Golden Realms, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's going on?
Nothing much. We got a lot to go, and we have a pay-per-view coming up this Saturday. Go figure.
Yes, we do. We're going to talk about that shortly. And then over at Lance Moss TV, he's the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's shaking?
Oh, not too much. Let's have some fun.
Sounds like a plan to me. All right. Now, actually, yes, Full Gear we just talked about is this Saturday. And you know what, guys? This is kind of troubling. I'm not sure Tony Khan intended for this because, well, the Collision is also on the same time that Phil Gear is on. And
can I clear this one thing up? For this Saturday, they moved Collision to want to go one-on-one with SmackDown on Friday night.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh God. I'd like to welcome Terry 3G who just popped in the room. He said, "Evening to all men and women in here." And he goes, and he says he's not shaking anything but the bacon. That's okay. Don't worry about shaking your bacon. Well, Joe, let me ask you: Collision going head-to-head against SmackDown.
Collision going after, like, God, who planned that? Don't they understand that what we're looking at is just General Custard at Little Bighorn? Don't they, AEW, no Tony Khan, don't any of those guys know? Do they watch history at all? Don't they realize that didn't they realize when TNA tried to go head to head with Raw and how bad it got shot down? Because Vince, no matter what, put his A game players. And I'm sorry, Collision is or Dynamite or Rampage, which any of those products going up against head to head, and I'm including all of them. I'm including Rampage, Dynamite, and Collision. Any of those three, or even combined, going up against a SmackDown is going to get smacked down because they're going to have their teams going up against each other. It's just going to be the big products. I know dogs are acting up, but yeah. So Rick, I think it's a fatal mistake that's going to cost them ratings and it's going to make them look bad. And by the way, wouldn't be shaking the bacon. I'd rather be shaking boobs.
Well, also another topic we have to discuss, guys. There's a devil running around. Now we know that MJF is the devil, but apparently there's been people beating MJF's quote unquote friends or alliances or whatever have you out back, and then you just see a picture of the devil pop on the screen. And we were kind of having a conversation. Who could it be? And Lance, you suggested it might be CM Punk. I find that highly unlikely, but I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility. At least
especially because remember, what was it? Double or Nothing when MJF quote walked out. So Tony Khan is not above working the entire wrestling world.
All right, fair enough. Despite all the rumors we have, is him possibly going to WWE, which I don't see that's going to happen anyways. And yes, we haven't heard from Zoe for a while. Right now, Zoe is training for her wrestling promotion, so unfortunately, it's colliding. Speaking of which, as of next week, we will be moving our time slot to 6 p.m. on Wednesday nights. So for those of you who are listening, please keep that in mind. I will also be making changes on our banners in our chat room. All right, so let's get down to it. At 0 hour, MJF and a person of his pick will have to take on the Young Guns for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. You know what, Lance? I'm going to have to pick the Guns with this one.
Yeah.
All right. Joe, what do you think?
You know what? Definitely, it has to be the Guns because this is just a Ring of Honor tag team title. I'm not diminishing it in its essence, but these guys need a championship. And what better way to stick it to MJF than to literally just kind of let them win it somehow? And they need a title push. Ring of Honor needs active World Tag Team Champions. So this will probably benefit them. And MJF, because now it gives him freedom to concentrate on his world title.
Yeah, exactly. And with Adam Cole being out, unfortunately, we're not even sure how far this would have gone. Could this have gone longer? Possibly, but right now, with Adam Cole's injury he had like about a month and a half ago or whatever, he's out probably for until the rest of the year. Maybe early spring we might see him back. So it's a shame. But yeah, I
Well,
have to.
let me just say this, Rick. He's out from actively competing
Yes.
in a ring. Doesn't change that he could be the devil because he doesn't actually have to wrestle. It could be anybody. He can do that. He could do backstage skits. He could do what he's doing right now. These little cell phone video Zoom call skits that he's been doing in the back. So I wouldn't be surprised that there's more. We're going to see more of Adam Cole even before he steps in the ring, which is a smart idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And Terry 3G also said Ass Boy Tag Team Champions. So I think across the board we pretty much all agree on that one.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say this about the Guns.
Yep.
You know, they got a good physique, but God, when your dad looks freaking better than you guys, then there's a problem.
Well, I mean, let's look at it for a second. The Guns, firstly, they're much younger. They're in their 20s. And Billy Gunn, as much as, we love him, I think he did some steroids in his time, in his heyday. And he's also just a naturally taller guy. So, he's had those years to get ripped.
Oh, look at all the screen flashing. Okay, I just freaked out. Go ahead. Next subject. Damn it.
Yeah.
Bring on the women.
Okay, actually, well, we're bringing up the women. It's Timeless Tony Storm. Oh my God. Versus Hikaru Shida. Guys, I hate this new gimmick that Tony Storm has. I don't mind her as a wrestler because she's usually very great in the ring, but I do not want to see Timeless Tony Storm as a champion, so I think Hikaru Shida is going to win this one. That's if you ask me. Joe, your pick.
Oh God, what? She's Nora Desmond, and if you don't know who Nora Desmond is, look it up. She's a old school, like a 1930s, 40s, or even 20s actress, and she used to do the kind of the, I'm trying to remember that she used to do the same type of gimmicks late in her career. She kind of flipped out like Tony Storm was doing. So just think about that. She was like the classic villain of old school movies, and she had like the backstage person, like just like Tony Storm has, So it was, it's crazy that they have someone giving her this gimmick. And Rick, I laugh because she's not a great wrestler. She was far from a great wrestler. And it's sad that like Hikaru Shida has to downgrade herself to wrestle an idiot's way of wrestling. We've seen her take on Saraya, and Ruby don't get out of here and go back to Soho, because none of those three girls can wrestle. So this stupidity of Marilyn Monroe warped or Nora Desmond warped definitely needs to go. Toni Storm needs to go. This gimmick wouldn't make sense as champion. They always have her doing the little skits between the commercials. Like, hey, watch this hamburger. It's more entertaining than watching this stupid bitch.
Yeah, I call her Tony. Time to go to commercial break, Storm.
Exactly. In this case, I do hope that they keep it on Shida. Right now, they need that strong girl to run this, and Well, Sheeta is kind of like the Lance probably can help me out here, but Sheeta's kind of like she's repetitive in her moves too. But considering who she's facing, it might as well be repetitive.
All right, Lance,
So,
your thoughts?
There is no way in hell, go to commercial, Tony Storm is winning this match.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think there you have it. Moving along. This is going to be a trios match. It's going to be Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne, who will take on Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Edge Copeland. And I myself, honestly, I'd like to say, I'm just going to give it to the Team Sting. It makes sense for these, for Christian, Luchasaurus, and Wayne to take the loss. Now, could I see Edge pinning Christian? Not necessarily, but I'm going to say it outright. This is a follow-up for an Adam Cage singles match. I don't know about you, Lance.
Yeah, Team Edge, Sting, Darby. But a little bit of me thinks, and I'm talking like 5% out of 90. I mean, 5% out of 100. Could we see Edge blast Sting in the back and join Christian?
I personally don't see that, but I've been wrong before. But if you want to give that 5%, I could say that Christian Cage's team could very well win. Joe, over to you.
I'm actually going to give it to Team Cage. I can see throughout the match that Christian and Copeland are not going to meet. They'll tease it. It's going to be the big thing where they'll tease each other for it. And they'll keep going. Like as soon as Edge is in the ring or Adam is in the ring, Christian's in the ring, he's going to turn and tag in Luchasaurus or Nick Wayne.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're not going to meet. This is going to be the classic match where both of these main superstars, and I'm not taking nothing away from Sting. He's an icon, but he doesn't need to prove himself in this match. Darby needs to. He's another one doesn't really need to prove himself. The only one that really needs to prove himself in here is Nick Wayne, because we already know what Luchasaurus can do. So I'm going to lean a little bit into the Cage team because I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Christian come and knock out Darby Allin, or hand something to Nick Wayne, who's going to knock out Darby Allin to set up a match between those two. And you're going to see, like, further down, I don't think it's a cage match. I don't think they're going to go that route yet. But I can see Christian taking on Adam sometime by the next pay-per-view. But they're going to keep these two apart for as much as possible. Tease that they're going to clash, and then Christian's going to get that quick tag out of there, or slide out of the ring and kind of maybe get a couple of cheap shots and run. I don't think they're really going to invoke these two out there. I think they're going to keep them separate, let this thing build up to the point where they do have a match, but they unite when the Hardys come out and challenge them. So I could see this happening. And let's not forget, Tony Khan's a big mark. I wouldn't be surprised by next year somehow you have Edge, or should I say Christian and Adam teaming up against the Hardys and against a one nights only Dudleys to remake not a full tables, ladders, and chair match, but a night of mayhem.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think Bully Ray would even consider coming to AEW the way he trashes them every week on Busted Open Radio. So
come on now. That guy, put it like this: he could trash it all he wants, but if you offered him a lot of money, you're my best friend, and I'm sure Devon will probably convince him, say, look, WWE ain't gonna do this. These guys who were with us are here. And I'm sure he'll set his side apart. This is professional wrestling. Never say never. And if you offer some asshole enough money, they'll go in there and do it. And Bully Ray's no different from anybody else. Because what is he doing? Impact? Yay! That's gonna really put fucking food on the table.
Yeah, no kidding.
If
Well,
they
he's
offer
got
him enough money, that he might say, Devon, get the money.
Absolutely.
All right, Lance, over to you. Who do you see winning this trios match?
Edge, Copeland, Sting, and Darby.
All right. I think we can all call Adam Edge on TV. We're not gonna get sued for copyrights, but absolutely. I think I see that's how that winning going about. All right.
We can always break it down and call him Brokeback Shaggy.
Noise.
You know, it's funny. You look at the two. Rick, before you move this picture,
Yeah, I'll go
look
back.
at Adam Copeland and look at Christian Cage. My God, Christian looks far better looking than Adam Copeland.
Yeah.
It's like Adam's been destroyed, and here is,
Well, no,
Christian,
it is. He
who
has
looks
those
pretty
high
much the same.
cheekbones.
Yeah.
And that's what, even if we go back and look at his pictures from him like years ago, you could still see the high cheekbones. And now that he's getting older, and that's where he's gonna look rough.
Yeah.
But again, I want to move on. This is going to be Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy will be going head to head again for the second time for the AEW International Championship. The last time these two fought, Moxley defeated Cassidy for the title. Now, Joe, let me ask you: do you think Moxley's going to get the title again?
Oh, absolutely. Remember, this belt was originally for him before he had that injury, that stinger, and they had to switch it around they put that picture back up there. I honestly see the Moxley actually winning this. I think this is a match that I can't wait to see, because we already know how it worked before with the two, but now I think they seasoned more Cassidy much better. They made him more of a hard badass with all the people he had to fight against. So honestly, I'm gonna say that this is going to be the best match out of the two, and no doubt Moxley's going to win this because Cassidy has done so much, and I think they want to build up his tag team with Hook. So I can see that belt going to at least to the one member of the Black Eyed Peas Club or whatever the fuck they're called.
Blackpool Combat Club, but yes. I don't know. I think that Cassidy might be able to hang on to it this time around. Lance, your thoughts?
Well, this has possibility for possible match of the night. And if you... I got to go Mox.
Okay. All right. So now moving on to another feud that is going on. It's Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland. And they've clearly made this match far more personal than a lot of other previous matches. And I'm going to say, honestly, I'm voting for the Hangman. I think last time I picked for Swerve, and only because I know that Swerve is they're both phenomenal wrestlers. But I think the way they wrote the story out, for Hangman not to win this one, I think it would just completely shoot him down, and there'd be like, he'd be a jobber status. I don't know about you, Joe.
Oh. Yeah, I gotta say, for this storyline, they really, really build this. They really invested time and energy in this story, because they have Strickland, who's a good wrestler. He just needed that break, and finally they're doing something with him right, and Adam Page. So I think, honestly, this storyline is perfect. And add Prince Nana in the corner, this is going to be, this one is one of the matches I can't wait to see. Adam Page is a good worker. I've always said that. His charisma sucks. Strickland's got the charisma and got everything. They needed to move Page in a direction. So this actual battle can go, for me, either way, because they can either sneak a win out of Page and build this up to a cage match, which will be the smartest thing, or Texas Bull Rope match, or something in favor of Adam Page. If they let
Actually,
Swerve
this is a
loose,
Texas death match. I'm sorry, I
oh,
forgot to
okay.
mention that.
Oh shit.
Oh, then it's definitely Adam Page because this is. I think even if Prince Nana gets involved, he's getting killed. So I've got to give. I've got to give Page this lean. But Rick, again, the story, the build-up. I haven't seen a story build-up since the old glory days in wrestling, or in the Attitude Era, where they build two guys up, make them maybe tease fights and do little skits fights, but you can't wait for the main match to happen, and this is what's going to be the big match between the two.
Yeah. I was listening to um, what's his name? Eric Bischoff, who said that AEW doesn't build any of the storyline wrestlers, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, he's obviously not watching it fully. You know, he might be just like reading like the results or whatever, but I've seen this one especially how they built storylines. I've been building storylines with MJF. Um, so even Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, they're building those storylines. But Lance, over to you. Your thoughts?
Well, for one, it's obvious Bischoff has some sort of weird grudge against AEW after their little bit of business they did in the early days of AEW. But with it being a Texas death match, I think we're going to see some real cowboy shit. Therefore, we got to go with the Hangman.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on. This AEW World Tag Team is going to be a four-way. You're going to have the LFI, which is Rush's new clan. And, of course, Ricky Starks and Big Bill's going to be defending the titles. FTR is going to be in there. And then House of Black. This is going to be a huge challenge for Starks and Bill. And you know, I want to say, oh, FTR is going to get it again, or I want to say that LFI is going to grab it. But I think Starks and Bill, I think they're going to pull it, get lucky on this match. I don't know about you, Joe.
You know, I got to say the same thing. I think they need to keep these belts on these guys. These guys, just got the belts not too long ago. This will solidify them as a good team, as a good tag team champions. I'm going to throw this in. It is so sad that they got rid of the Butcher and the Blade. I understand the Bunny went to do OnlyFans, so that's going to be awesome. But, honestly, I think that Ricky Starks is a good talent, that he needed a championship. Big Bill does need his own break. I would have personally replaced Bill with a Brian Cage or somebody else, somebody like, that's more established in here in AEW, but that's good. FTR does not need these titles because they've held it numerous times. I think what we're going to see is Starks and Bill beat LFI, I would have said looking for visas. I would have had, they're going to lose.
That's Joe at
it's true.
SportsZone.com.
Hey, I have to say it because I want to hear Lance say that. That's my natural high throughout the week. I could see though. Yes, thank you. Let's not do that cocaine spot. We might get in trouble. I could see FTR starting a feud with House of Black. So I think you're going to see that night. But Starks and Bill definitely are going to keep those titles. They need to keep those titles. Nobody else can really hold it.
Yeah. Lance, over to you.
Yeah, because really, House of Black are going after LFI, and well, FTR don't need it, so just reasonable choice.
Yeah.
Starks and Big Bill retain.
Yeah, I mean LFI. They just united last week, and they're actually a formidable team, right? A formidable faction that's growing. We saw House of Black. They owned the trios titles for quite a while, and they defended it back to back before they had a short run, but they defended it like 15, 20 times in the time they had it. So, and FDR, We love FDR, but they even said they're gone at the end of the year. So why give them a title that
Yeah.
they're just going to drop? So moving on. Um, this is another tag team. The Young Bucks will take on Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, and or what the Jericho and Omega are calling themselves the Golden Jets. There is a stip for this match. If Jericho and Omega lose, they can never wrestle on the same team again. Now, obviously, I heard never say never, but this is a coin tosser for me. I mean, I could see Jericho and Omega winning, but I could also see the Bucks winning. I don't know about you, Lance.
75% Bucks, 25 Jericho and Omega.
That's a fair assessment. I don't know about you, Joe.
No, I definitely see Kenny Omega and Jericho winning this match. Here's the thing with this. I could see Omega really not looking to try to hurt his fellow elite. Jericho's not in the elite, so if he sneaks, if he can sneak a cheat win or do something, it will get ugly. So that will kind of probably build up on this. The Bucks don't like Kenny teaming up with Jericho because of everything that Jericho has done to them in the past. So this is kind of an interesting concept where we're repeating too here. We're repeating. This happened also with Hangman Page and the Bucks and Kenny. So, here is something where we see this kind of the same thing. But honestly, I think the Bucks should lose, and I think Jericho should be the one to pin them by using something. Because Jericho's lost it, like they're playing it off that he's lost his edge. He needs that, El Champion, the Ocho, the Wizard. He needs to come up with something that will keep him in that limelight. And the Bucks don't lose anything from this. Their status is set. I think this will help Jericho in at least further his thing with Kenny. And don't forget, Jericho also has now the Big Show, or what was his name?
Paul White.
Paul White, yes, he went back to using his real name. So I would like to see Jericho team up here if anything comes down to it. So it's something. We'll see what happens. Or maybe Don Callis will come down and attack all four of them, making a new war there. So I'm going to leave this one. I'm not going to leave it on tape. I'm going to say Jericho and Omega are going to get the win, with Jericho getting the pin on somebody.
Okay. Let's since you mentioned Don Callis, I mean, he might be able to rope in the Young Bucks on this over bitter feelings, but again, you never know. Let's just wait and see, I guess, on this one. And now MJF will be taking on Jay White, who has pretty much stolen his title since for it's been at least 3 or 4 weeks now, maybe. And but I think if obviously the Bullet Club Gold will get involved and they'll get ejected, hopefully, because I really don't want to see Jay White as a champion. MJF has been a phenomenal champion, and I think he could actually pull this one off, Joe.
Yeah, you know what? MJF is going to get the win. Then you're going to see the Devil come back out. White doesn't need this. White, it's not the charisma champion. This is a downgrade if he won. Definitely, whatever's going to happen, I could see MJF finally getting his belt back, getting this match done, and then the Devil comes out, whoever it is, or whoever is in that. If whoever's portraying it, I think honestly will reveal themselves this night, and then the story will carry on. So definitely, this is going to be an interesting match. It's going to be a good competitive match, but yeah, Jay White is not charismatic. He doesn't have great promo skills. He's a good worker. The other guys with him just fucking anger the shit out of me, and not in a character sense, just that they're annoying. So this should be a good match, and I see MJF retaining.
Yeah, and I want to go over in the chat room. Terry3G, his thoughts. He thought that Sting will get the win for the team. Hikaru Shida will remain the championship, and he's also mentioned that Edge has wrestled more than Christian, which is pretty much true. Edge has wrestled almost every week since he's been here, and Christian's been here for a few years, and I think he's only been in the ring like 4 or 5 times. So that's interesting. And that was pretty much it for that pay-per-view. So, excuse me, guys. Joe, can you just take it on for 1 second?
Yeah, damn, you have the Emperor, or you pissed off Darth Vader.
The devil's coming for him.
It is Palpatine. So, Lance, you know what? We've been joking a little bit on earlier about the situation with NWA Power and the CW. I know we've been going over, and you did that snort there, and it's definitely the cocaine spot.
I'm back, guys. Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize for that brief interruption.
No, but see, you forgot to pay the Empire's Tavern, so you pissed them off.
Yeah.
Rick, I'm gonna toss it back to me and Lance were about to engage in talking. Well, we are not gonna get engaged. I don't think
Joe,
he finds me appealing.
It's not my type.
Yeah, okay. But we were talking about NWA Power and their status.
Oh yes, yeah. It's a real.
Take it away, compadre.
No, but it's a real shame about NWA Power, and we talked about that last week. How NXT slid right in, and you had me watch a show, Joe, on one of their streams on YouTube, and it's an empty, like you said, it was like a COVID arena. There was almost nobody in there, so that's kind of it's really sad. But I was kind of hoping that NWA Power would rise up and we'd have another wrestling show to watch, or another wrestling brand.
And if I can interject real quick, according to Eric Bischoff on his 83 Weeks podcast, along with Conrad Thompson, they talked about the NWA and Billy Corgan and CW, and apparently, according to Mike Johnson of PWI, he was a wrestling reporter, very renowned reporter and individual. They were talking about that CW never offered Billy Corgan a spot for the NWA. It's way below their radar. This was something that it was going to be just for Billy Corgan. So maybe, he tried to beef it up that way and say, yeah, this is it to keep his talent. But even EC3, who's their NWA champion, was complaining verbally about this, Rick. So, there's with that, also with the cocaine spot they did, it's not going to help them in the long run. So, I think they're going to have to sit back and figure out something else. I think maybe they should try just a streaming network.
Well, yeah, and that's what they're doing right now on YouTube, but and it's really not getting them that many views. But you know what? Let's move along. I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but Vince McMahon offloaded a lot of his shares this past week. This, of course, followed right after the TKO listed Vince McMahon membership on a board as a board member as a risk factor. So McMahon sold apparently 8.4 million shares of TKO stock, which is about 30% of his own personal stock. According to the reports, the net worth of the sale could be around $700 million. Also, an interesting note: no shares are being sold back to TKO, the company itself. So, and TKO won't receive any proceeds. So, let me ask you, Lance, what do you think Vince is doing with all this stock now that he's offloaded? Where do you think it's going to go?
Well, I'll put it to you like this. With what came out that Vince is kind of toxic, from TKO, I kind of think they're nudging his ass out with a big ass severance package, being when he sells off his stock, because I kind of think he figured, well, pal, if I put it all out there at once, I won't be able to get big value. But if I piece it out, I'll bring a lot of money, pal.
You know what? And that's another possibility. Joe, first Vince sold his company. Now it looks like he's selling his shares of the company that he sold to. And it's not making a lot of sense to me.
Well, you know what? Here, as we've seen before, Vince has lost a lot of power within the company, and right now he's just an employee, and Vince McMahon is not just an employee. He hasn't been an employee since his dad ran the company, so I can honestly see that he could be starting something on his own. There is something going on between him and the Saudis, and how he has an agreement with the Saudi government. Remember, he set them up to have these wrestling shows. So could Vince be doing something on the side away from TKO? Maybe this is his way of just getting out of TKO and doing something different. We don't know if TKO owns everything that Vince has. Like, I'm talking about the other franchise, like WCW or the WWF or anything like that, because that's all still on Peacock on the WWE. So if they bought all of that and they have everything, then Vince can't use any of those properties. But it would be hilarious, guys, if Vince got out of the WWE, TKO, the Saudi government's willing to fund them, and there is other projects that I forget off the top of my head that what was going to happen, but Vince McMahon has agreements with the Saudi government for other projects. So I wouldn't be surprised that he comes out doing something different away from TKO and away from WWE, and that would be the end of WWE as under the McMahon era. And everybody can say, yeah, it's McMahon era is already over because he sold it, but he was still part of it. Once he steps away completely, WWE is no longer that company that we grew up with as WWF and WWF. Just a thought.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's pretty much like Disney buying over, like Marvel and all the other, legendary things, like, So I could see that being happening. Lance, your thoughts?
I just thought of something funny, because Vince is going to have a lot of money if he does sell all his stock. What if he bought NWA?
You know what? The funny thing, Terry 3G just said Vince buys NWA from Billy Corgan.
You know what's funny? How about this? What about if Vince McMahon bought TNA or Impact or whatever the fuck it's going to be called?
I don't think he'd buy TNA. Impact, possibly. I could definitely see him definitely buying that out.
Well, now, and I do remember what it was. Vince can work to do an MMA fight setup over in Saudi Arabia, because that was one of the things that they wanted to do. And Dana White wanted to do in Saudi Arabia. So maybe that's something that they can expand on to go over there. And the Saudis have a lot of power. They have a lot of money. So I could see this can be something that can carry it on over. I doubt Vince is willing to go through the whole headache of running another wrestling company, another business, maybe. But wrestling, I would not be surprised if he did start one up. But it honestly, if it's going to be a wrestling company, I don't think it'll be an NWA. I don't think it'll be an Impact or TNA or whatever the fuck. I could see him moving on to something maybe on his own come up, or actually go back to, I don't know, World Wrestling Federation. So
Yeah,
Who knows?
actually,
He can't.
Terry 3G said,
Well,
Vince will buy the World Wildlife Fund. And I'm like,
That would be funny as hell.
it would be funny as hell, but I don't ever see that happening realistically. All right, moving on. We got one last topic. Um, Cody Rhodes was on Busted Open Radio this past week, and he honestly said that he would love to have his brother, Dustin Rhodes, be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, Dustin Rhodes is still with AEW, and it seems to be the underlying policy if you're working for another promotion, you're not getting into the Hall of Fame at that moment. Lance, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I mean, hell, that's the reason why Billy Gunn wasn't able to be part of the. Actually, yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was inducted.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was inducted with them.
when he was on with AEW. So, I mean, as much of a part of the Attitude Era as Goldust was, as much of the hell, he was damn near a mainstay until he left in whenever. Yeah, yeah, I'd be. Yes, Goldust is Hall of Fame worthy. Yeah.
Oh, there's no question about him being Hall of Fame. But Joe, again, I have to ask: do you think WWE would induct him while still working for AEW? And he even said, "Oh, go ahead, Joe."
No, absolutely. Tony Khan will probably give Dustin that nod. Dustin is very loved by people in both locker rooms in WWE and AEW. Would they let him go do this? Absolutely. Remember, let's turn the clock back. Let's go back in time, Mr. Peabody. It's remember when they allowed Christian Cage to go from WWE to TNA to do that Hall of Fame, or vice versa. And he was the Intercontinental Champion. He actually had a championship. So I would not be surprised with how much Dustin is loved in that locker room. That Tony Khan says, you know what? They're going to offer it to you. Go. You can't work there. You can't be in a ring, but you can go accept this award and be part of their Hall of Fame. That's not going to ever be an issue. Plus, I think out of respect for Dustin and Cody, who helped get AEW going, I can see them allowing that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, my big question was because it's WWE's underlying policy that as long as you're working for another company, you're not going to get inducted. And
let me interject here, Rick. That was the policy under Vince McMahon.
Very true. Very true.
So this is not a Vince McMahon owned WWE. So I think Triple H, Paul, Mr. Stephanie McMahon would probably allow it, and I'm sure Cody would just fight for it. Hey, no, I want Dustin in here. So I think both parties would agree to something like this as long as he doesn't wrestle.
All right, fair enough. Well, we're going to wrap up this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I want to thank Terry.
Wait a minute. We still got 15 minutes here, I think.
All right.
If I had my time right.
Yeah, you got 15 minutes. Okay.
Yes, we got to have some fun here. We got to talk about the difference. First of all, this Saturday, I know we were talking about the AEW's pay-per-view. I will be putting up a flyer on the HWR chat room. If you love video games and you love wrestling, you can come check out TKWA's Warzone, which is pretty much a WWE 2K23 setup with video game characters and people doing real promos. We're putting on our show. This is the last TKWA show of the year. We will be looking to convert it to WWO, which will be part of my real wrestling company. That is a different brand. I have the World Wrestling Organization as a real product that's going to be debuting back in May. We got a four episode contract we have to do. We also are doing this World Wrestling Organization, or should I call it WWO Online. So that's going to be a big thing. It's my team. I'm leading the WWO team against Team TKWA. in a War Games match. So you want to check that all out. Again, this Saturday, it will be on Twitch. Just do the hashtag WWO Live, and you'll see that is 8 o'clock start, 8 o'clock p.m. start Eastern Standard. So make sure you guys check that out. Again, hashtag WWO Live on Twitch for the TKW/WWO War Games video game event. So you want to check that out. But now that I got that self-promotion out of the way, I was watching a promo about all the women in AEW. They did like a little short hype video. And you had Hikaru Shida, you had Britt Baker, you had Saraya, as much as I don't like her, but she's in there. You had Ruby Soho, you had Chris Statlander, you had Riho, and you had all the women. My only exception is that they put fucking Nyla Rose on there. They said women, not somebody that hides Captain Winky between her legs.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So,
That's
fuck that.
GoAtSocialDrums.com.
Thank you, Lance. I just had to throw that in there. We still got a few more minutes. I can rant on that, but no. I just wanted to also talk to you guys about the differences of wrestling today. You know, we've had now AEW, because it's always going to be number 2. Unless they bring in somebody huge. Like, okay, Adam Copeland is huge. You know, I think AEW will always be a little bit lagging behind the WWE. You know, and now with Drew McIntyre turning heel, I would have thought, what a great person that could have really boosted up that ratings for AEW if they had a Drew McIntyre in there.
Well, you know what? I would agree with you on some points. As much as I love AEW, as much as I love their shows, their pay-per-views, I have to say they're going to be number 2 only because WWE has 50 years on them.
Yeah.
50 plus years. You know, they have all the experience. And Tony Khan, as much, again, he's doing a great job. He's not just a wrestling promoter. He's also a wrestling promoter and is a football team owner. So his time is divided. And, you know, he seems to say, okay, you know, some of the things he does, you can tell that he's just a wrestling mark, as much as I hate to say it, but he is. But, you know, and I don't think, you know, where Vince McMahon in his prime was this businessman. He wasn't worried about putting himself over or seeing things that he wanted to see. He had a vision, and he shaped it, and that was pretty much it. Now, a lot of wrestlers in that time got passed over because Vince didn't see him that way.
So let me ask you this, and I'm going to throw it over to Lance with the same question. Would you guys see Tony Khan as a Ted Turner of this era?
Yes, okay, I'll say he's a modern day Ted Turner, but not really having a pissing contest with Vince. But in that one aspect, yes, I do see him as a modern day Ted Turner. What about you, Lance?
Sorta, kinda.
Yeah.
Notice, fans, Lance does the quick jabs. I do the long-winded rants. Somebody has to get exhausted throughout this show, so I might as well be the one that gets exhausted with speeches.
Well, let's talk about Drew McIntyre for a minute. Now, obviously, he lost his title at I think it was Crown Jewel against Seth Rollins, but now he's turning heel and he's going to join Judgment Day. Could this be his entrance, his exit storyline, Joe? Or do we see him resigning?
Well, I wouldn't think they would go through this effort to turn him heel and align himself with the Judgment Day just to let him go. To me, I like Drew McIntyre. I think he's a great worker. He's definitely improved since his time away from WWE and he came back. So, you know, it was too bad that his first title win happened during the COVID era where he couldn't really get that big crowd feel of a first win.
Yeah.
You know, obviously later on he would get that, but that first title win always is a big thing, and I think that kind of slowed his momentum. And then, honestly, once you bypass, everybody else, and you come up against woo-ha, respect me, moron, it's you're gonna slow down. It's like the Shield literally still controls WWE without Moxley. Um, and then you got to think the other thing too is what happens to the other Judgment Day members. Are they going to have to take a step back because this guy's coming in, or are they going to get like confrontation? Like, is Damian Priest going to say, "Hey, you're in the back of the line. You're the one wiping Dominic Mysterio's ass now," or is he just going to come in and assume control because he's more experienced in this?
Well,
so that's going to be my question.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I still think that Damian Priest is going to be the leader. And, Drew will come in. Like I said, I'm not sure. I don't see this as a long time thing. I personally, if the rumors are right and he hasn't re-signed a contract and is considering leaving, I could very well see this be his exit. I don't know about you, Lance.
I don't know if he's officially joined Judgment Day is the thing. Cause I don't know if his alliance with the Judgment Day is long term or if it's just for inside War Games. Which I could, with the way Drew likes working, he's more of a singles worker any damn way. So I kind of think it's just as one-time deal inside War Games.
Yeah. The one thing I can say I like about Drew McIntyre that he's going to turn heel, he's not going to pick up that fucking stupid sword during his entrance. I mean, what the fuck is that? When I saw that, I was like, okay, no, that's pushing it too far, But
here's something really quick, Rick. Just happened. Mickey James has been removed from the Impact/TNA website browser.
Wow.
According to PWA Insider, the surprise removal is a break from the company. Both sides are still in good terms, and she's always welcome back. But she could be joining her husband, Nick Aldis, in the WWE. Probably maybe backstage, commentator or something like that. But yes, she's finally, the people are rowing away from that sinking ship.
Well, actually, now that you mentioned it, that would be if James does go to the WWE. I think that would put her back in NXT, because I think honestly, this would be her fourth time in, if I'm not mistaken. It's the fourth or fifth. I lost count.
Something like that.
I honestly think there's not any much more she could do. I think she should go to AEW, but that's just my personal thought.
Wasn't she there already as a trainer? Didn't she do that skit or something like that?
I think it's a train. I don't think, no, she was never on TV, not to my knowledge. If it was, it was for a very brief second, and like when AEW just started getting up. So
I swear she was there. She did a hype match. I can't remember exactly the full match, but I know she was there. So, it's who knows.
Okay, but again, these are all like you have to wonder who else is going to be looking for the door pretty soon from, as you would say, the sinking ship.
Well, you know what? Wouldn't it be interesting? Madison Rain. Oh, it was Madison Rain. Thank you, Terry Tree G's over in the chat room. Madison Rain is in the AEW as a trainer. Thank you.
I don't ever remember seeing Mickey James in AEW.
Yeah.
So, but I think I'd like to see that, because right now, unfortunately, the women's roster is starting to dwindle. Right now the big names you have is obviously Chris Statlander, Britt Baker, who's out on injury. I don't know where she is. I hate to say it, Nyla Rose, Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, Saraya, Ruby Soho, Sky Blue. She's starting to make a name for herself,
Yeah.
and Julia Hart
Willow and Willow
and Willow.
Nightingale,
Yes,
who's
Willow
also
Knight.
teasing a little bit of a heel turn.
I think
Thunder,
so.
Thunder's coming back within a little while.
Okay. So you know what? But I would not mind to see more women in AEW. Um, and even the tag team division's starting to dwindle a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they have some makeshift tag teams like like Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, but that's a short-term thing. So
It's just still a shame that they got rid of the Butcher and the Blade, because that I wouldn't say they were the greatest tag team compared to FTR, and the Bucks and all, but they were still a good team. You had the power in the Butcher, you had the skills of the Blade, and then they had the Bunny before she left. Hopefully they do end up, maybe they transcend and go to Ring of Honor, or hopefully they go to a spot where they can actually get paid and be pushed really well, because they do now have that TV exposure. So hopefully they end up in a place where they're not getting paid in pennies like TNA or Ring of Honor. Question for you, TNA or NWA. Would it make sense, guys, to merge Impact and NWA together at this point in time?
you know what? With the right promoter, with the right money, and if they got the right TV deal, absolutely. There's no reason why they could not come together. And I've said that that's the biggest problem with both NWA and mostly Impact. I used to love Impact Wrestling, but once they started moving around TV networks, I'm like, okay, 1 week I could watch them, like cool, and then they got jumped off to some other network that I couldn't watch, or I'd have to pay more for a second tier, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm not paying an extra $20 just to watch, a TNA. You're not that good, If they got on the right network under the right circumstances, absolutely, without question. So that's pretty much, my thoughts on, when it comes to, those two brands. And, if you don't have a TV deal on a major network, and I'm not talking like, like Access, because that's not a major network. I'm talking ABC, NBC, Fox, something else, you're not going to get any exposure. With no exposure, what's the point of being there, aside from, okay, I need to be a wrestler to get a job, and, I don't know what Billy Corgan's paying out, but we know that in the past, TNA's had issues paying.
It's got to be better than Impact.
Well, yeah, they pay food stamps, but we'll move away from that. But the question I also have is, you have more streaming networks. Like, I doubt they'll ever go on Hulu. There's Netflix that maybe they can, and it's a network that really has everything now. So who knows if they could try going on that. One of the major streaming networks will probably help them, because the first rule of any wrestling promotion, get advertisements, get exposure. And what these two companies, Impact and NWA Power, they've done the little YouTube garbage, but nothing extravagant, nothing as big as a real network, So if you're going to go on on a Fox network, or I don't even know any of the other networks nowadays. But because the main ones, WWE and AEW has them. You're in deep shit if you can't get one of these. But we're down to the 1 minute mark.
Yeah, actually we are. So we're gonna wrap this up. I want to thank Terry 3G, who's hanging out with us again. From now on, we will be changing our time slot to 6 p.m. Eastern time. So that'll be starting next week. And I want to thank everyone who's followed and HWR. For those of you who's the first time listening and you like what we have, hit that like and subscribe button for more HWR content. We also have a chat room over on Facebook, and it's Wrestling Rants, where we post the latest news, rumors. I try to do the baby of the day. I don't do it every day, but I try to get it in there. And then tonight I will be covering AEW's Dynamite. So, Lance, over at Lance Moss TV, what do you got going on?
Every Tuesday night we go live on Lance Moss TV and Friends. We never know who's going to show up, and we shoot the shit for between an hour and 2 hours.
And Joe, you talked about your E-Fed over at Skeleton Realms. What do you got going on over there?
Well, for the E-Fed, it's going to take a little bit of a step back because I got this Saturday. We're building up this. But you can check it out. It is WWO Online is part of my new the side brand. So you can check it out. It is done with WWE 2K23 format. There's promos, there's backstage skits. Think of it as a real wrestling promotion with some video game aspects of it. So you want to check that out. That is, you can go on Facebook. It is WWO Live. You can go on Twitch with the same name, and on YouTube. So you have those three platforms. You can check it out. This Saturday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you can go on Twitch. We will be live with WWO/TKWA Warzone. I will be posting up that flyer. You could see it. I'm going to be making not only my appearance on your live, but I will be also appearing in video game format. So check it out. And if you're interested in becoming part of this, just message me on Facebook, and we will sit down and I will discuss everything further.
And there you have it. So with the Hardcore Crew, I'm your Hardcore host saying, Rick saying, we'll see you when we see you.
Buy a shirt.